There we go, guys. Right. Now just give me a second so I can find the notes again. Okay, here we go. Okie dokes. So everyone, welcome to the community meeting. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I am Bunny, the head admin. We've got Tommy here, the other head admin, the not so great head admin. No, kidding.
That's right.
Arguably the better head admin. We got several members of management, Danny and Cooper, joining us as well. They have speaking points. Red, Livia, Tadsy, and Rick as well. Um, Everyone who's up here will be speaking on a plethora of lovely points. We have about 15 of them. We do also have one of our lovely staff members recording the meeting. So if you have to leave early or if you have friends who sadly couldn't make it, the meeting will be recorded for them and we'll pop it in an announcement after along with some written notes. Um, Essentially the purpose of this meeting is to address kind of like ongoing issues within the server and the improvement of everyone's roleplay experience. So if you stick around as well at the end of the meeting, there'll be some kind of fun stuff that we want to discuss with you guys before we obviously open the floor to your questions. If you have any questions, could you please direct them to the meeting questions channel that has been made in the social section of the Discord? Because if you put them in the community meeting chat or the spam chat, they're going to get lost and they probably won't be answered. So, if along the way you have any questions that are on topic to what we're talking about, just pop them in there and we'll get back to them at the end. We may not have time to go over all of them, especially if you guys have loads of questions, but we'll try our best to kind of address the main concerns. Okay, so Red's going to be talking about our first point, and that's family, gang versus family, gang roleplay in general. Go ahead, Red.
All right. So I wanted to start by saying gang and family role play is like the meat and potatoes of our community. And we should encourage this type of role play with everyone. But I also want to talk about good family and gang role play and bad family and gang role play. Right. Good family and gang role play works with the community, take charge in situations, and giving role play all around the server, no matter where you at. From the desert all the way up to the city of Saint Denis. Bad gangs and families just start fights, beef with other gangs, having wars in cities, making civs' lives a living hell. Right? We shouldn't be doing any of this. Right? I mean, we can get in a couple fights here and there in towns, but when it comes, if you're constantly having fights in towns, this isn't something we should do. It makes civs' lives a living hell, and it makes role play really hard. Right?
Next time we'll send the British Army after them.
Oh, we should. Um, as far as for the way gang wars and family wars have been handed out, man, I mean, breaking rules on both sides, getting into report wars with no role plays. I mean, this should stop. We should come down to a conclusion between families and gangs, and we need to find. We need to be better at this to find a middle ground to end wars and beef with RP instead of just reporting one another and breaking rules. This makes it hard for all of our staff members, right? Remember, we're here because we love the community. We don't get paid to do it. We're just here to help everyone to make sure Sing County is a good place for everyone, right? We're all adults. We're all grown. We can act like adults instead of acting like children. I understand this is RP and it's also a video game, but we're trying to lean more to the RP side of things versus just killing each other day in and out inside of towns with no role play whatsoever. So that's what I got. If you want to add anything, Bunny.
No, I'm happy with that. We'll now move on to Holg. He's going to talk about our help and support channels.
what I've noticed a lot is especially like questions. There's so many repeat questions. Um, especially like, eh, and a lot of the time, like if we're not around or handling tickets, I notice like some of the community will tell people to search in it, um, which we do appreciate you guys doing stuff like that. But you can also jump in support channels and help somebody if they need it. And occasionally we do it too. Um, the questions is an important channel because it's simple to just go in there and search, but for some reason people they don't go in there and control F search, boom, and a lot of their answers would be question. So if you notice that somebody's needing help and for some reason they just don't get it, and if you do have time, which you know we do it as well, feel free to help somebody out. And it kind of, I know we bullshit a lot in chat and just we talk shit and everything else, but we're also here to help people, unless it's stuff that's find out and role play stuff, which is most of it. But for like simple commands or whatever, you can reference the right stuff. But a lot of the times I do see you guys doing that. But I just want to encourage each and every one of you to do that more and more. That way, we kind of have good camaraderie with all of the community members.
Yeah, we've got a lot better. I'm not gonna lie. A few months ago, it got a little bit on the bad side with how
Oh
people
yeah,
were like speaking to new players. Like when they'd come in and ask a question, a lot of the time the answers could be quite toxic, and the classic find out in roleplay where generally they were asking about stuff where you could actually help them on an OOC level because it was stuff that had to do with like commands or like emotes and stuff like that, or like controls. It would, and a lot of our controls in the server, they're not common knowledge. Like people who play 5M and come over here to Red M or vice versa, they don't know the controls. Like a lot of the time you can tell a new player someone who's come from 5M because they'll punch their horse, because to get in a car
yeah.
it's F and to get on a horse it's E. And it's just the little things, like especially with being like semi whitelisted now, we have to be a lot more welcoming, I'm gonna say. So like before you go and like fake help someone, and by fake help I mean like just giving a snarky answer to a new player, actually think about what you're saying to them first and think like, am I actually being helpful or am I being an asshole?
There is a
Classic
difference.
saying, if I can't say anything nice or nice, then don't say anything at all. And a lot of the time that's probably actually better because it just makes you look like a dick. Yeah.
You gotta think too, because most people, and I know it's metagaming or using outside knowledge or whatever, but they see you in lobby being a dick to them. They're probably gonna, especially if they're green horse, they're just gonna kill you if they hear where you're at in the server. So I mean, I know most people don't really give a shit, but you know all of our all of our actions have a consequence regardless of how little we may think it is.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll move on to our fourth point in the meeting, which is crime in World 2. Danny's going to be talking on this one.
Oh yeah, 1 second. Was it Crime World 2?
Yeah.
So obviously we know we have the two worlds. A lot of people like to use, one world for more of a civ kind of thing. Other people like to use the other world for more of a crime type of thing. However, the whole point of doing crime is to have the engagement with the law. That's the whole purpose behind it, is to have that role play. When you're on world 1 and you go to world 2 to specifically start doing crime because oh, maybe there's not know any law there. To me personally, I think that's a bit shitty because you're doing it just to get away with it because you can, and they can't do anything about it, and there's no engagement with law at all, and no loss on your side, and no role play or anything. And it's not just them who loses out on the role play; it's you who loses out on the interaction as well. That's the whole point. You're here is to have these role play interactions with other people. So I personally would, give a strong push on starting to use, the worlds and use them properly in terms of when you are committing crime, Do it in a world where you know there's going to be, there's going to have lawmen. Do it in a world where you know that you're going to have interactions. Otherwise, you're never going to get any interaction with any lawman just because you want to have the win, per se, the win mentality. That's never a good look on anybody. Um, and, you know, when you do get caught, Pete, I've noticed a lot recently in tickets as well that if you do get caught in World 2, you seem to get a bit of a shitty attitude in terms of towards the law because you didn't expect them to catch you because you're in World 2. And that's the whole premise of it. The whole purpose is to have the interaction with the law, have the risk of being caught, but then you have the reward at the same time. So just put that in your brain and a bit of food for thought.
Yeah, stop being silly, guys. There was something I wanted to say about that. Oh yeah, also take into account, like, even if you are going there because like there's maybe more locals and stuff like that, you have to also take into account that there are only so many police officers as well. So like, considering the fact that our server can host over 300 players, you have to take into account that a lot of the time, to every cop, there's probably about 10 players. So for every cop on duty, there's 10 civilians slash criminals doing crime or doing things that would and should probably get them arrested. So just remember to play fair and have respect for people on the other side of the screen because they're players too.
And it goes for both sides too. And I'll speak as a crim, as a lawman. We're not. I had a lawman, but you're not always there to win. I will commend some of the officers, like Longfellow and Blackwood, who I usually run into. They're really good about just kind of playing along with whatever it is. As a criminal, it's okay to be like a shit talker. Just don't be a shithead. Don't fucking try to ruin somebody's day, and because they can make your day a lot worse, especially as a lawman. They'll throw your ass in there for the maximum time.
Exactly. Okay. If everyone's done with that, we can move on to the next point with Olivia.
Okay.
Cool.
So for our next point, we're going to be. This is an issue that people bring up in tickets quite a bit. Next to next to conflicts, we see a lot of tickets on the camps, stores, and ranches and things like that that are player placed. Um, in the help section, we do have proper placement guidelines for all that stuff. And it may seem harsh that we have specific guidelines, like you have to place a range on something specific, you have to place stores on something specific that would hold an inventory that looks like an actual kind of store. But those guidelines are meant for role play. They're meant to for immersion and stuff like that, so we don't have like floating stores and things like that. When we have the people all trying to you know put themselves in the same area, they tend to start choosing locations that are more and more far fetched on the hope that they can still be in a certain area, but not necessarily, like they want to be in there where people are going to buy stuff, for instance, with their store, but not necessarily the best options and things like that. And if you're trying to stretch the rules and you're trying to get someone to say okay, and they're very hesitant about it, and you put it somewhere where it's not supposed to be, such as like on a general store, or you put it on something that doesn't make sense, um, you pretty much are setting yourself up to be in a ticket later. Even if you talked to some staff member and they're not necessarily against it. Reasons may come up in the future, and it's all based on trying to make everything make sense in role play. So I mean, when you try to stretch the guidelines, and I mean, you're kind of inviting trouble in the future. So if you just use the help section, which has pictures included, and for camps it tells you about how much distance to keep away from each other and things like that. If we just follow the guidelines, you'll be in a lot less trouble with camps. There's only so much land to go around, and everyone tries to get as close to whatever specific points as they can, while avoiding roads and stuff like that. Next thing you know, you're so close to another camp that their camp doesn't work. You got to be, very careful about that. It's, all of the placement, even if you've, spoken to a staff member and they're not too sure on whether something's, allowed or not, that pretty much means that they're leaving it open to, if it does cause problems in the future, it's still going to get, handled. So just make sure that when you're putting stuff down, that it makes sense right away, that it doesn't cause any problems, and that it fits with the guidelines and, is immersive and makes sense. That'll help you um, go a long way in the future to make sure that it doesn't run into no problem where the camp or store can't be at a certain location, because it has to be immersive. It has to make sense.
No rock shops.
Floating hideouts.
We don't want to see shops on rocks, guys. Come on now. Right.
Sounds like a
Danny,
Dr. Seuss book.
Shops on
Shops on rocks.
Say that again, Lexi.
Is your point next? Sorry,
Conflict.
ended it.
All right.
Resolution.
So, conflict resolution and roleplay quality is something that I've always strived for. I'm going to make a few quite brash and honest points here because I see it a lot in the community and across the board in general. We have a lot of people that do this. I think it's rubbish initiation of, oh, you're going to die now. Like, there's no story, there's no back thing behind it. It's just, oh, for example, oh, Lawman, you're going to die now. Like, it's just shit. There's no chance, there's no opportunity. Build a story, build role play. Have a whole character backstory and build up to scenarios. I don't like it. I don't think anybody likes it when you have people coming around constantly. Just all you hear is, you're going to die now, whoever you are, whatever group it is. It's just rubbish initiation. On top of that, have a lot more engaging role play, non-violent role play. Some of the best scenarios I've ever been involved in have been non-violent, and that's because the role play has been amazing. I had a role play scenario personally, for example, with the law. Olivia and Snaps, or Rick, sorry, can vouch for this. It was about 2 years worth of build-up role play recently, where we had a massive, massive scenario where they had a massive investigation against me, and there wasn't a single shootout in that whole, situation in the end. It was all resolved in a meeting. It was resolved, through role play, and it was so good, so in depth, so immersive, right? That you get more fun out of that than you do going, oh my god, let's just go and shoot everyone and let's go and kill everyone. I love to role play. A lot of the staff team love to role play. A lot of you guys love to role play. That's why we're all here. We're all here to have fun. Have the non-violent role play. It is there. It's whether you want to do it. That's the difference. Role play with everyone. Don't just role play in your little group of, 5, 6 people. Role play with the whole community. Move from town to town. Go from the town that you're always in and go, if you're in Rhodes, go and explore Strawberry. Go and explore Armadillo. If you're in Armadillo, go and explore Annesburg. Go and explore St. Denis. Move around the county. Explore other places. You haven't got to stay in one town. I move from town to town every 20, 30 minutes. I go from, St. Denis to Rhodes to Blackwater, back to Strawberry, back to Armadillo, all the way back again, because I want to role play and have different engagements with everyone. I want to have different engagements with different types of role play. Because everybody in every town's got its niche role play and group of people. And I enjoy mixing with the different types of role play of everyone, especially when it's non-violent, because I have some really funny moments where I'm walking away from there and I'm crying in laughter because it's just so good and it's so immersive. And there's another thing, obviously. Sorry, go on, Tommy.
I was gonna say, like, I had something with Will Longfellow, which he probably had no idea until I actually struck. I stalked him for 8 months as my native. He had no fucking idea, and then, I found my opportunity, and then he was probably confused of what it was, but it's a little that goes a long way, and it's the little shit like that I enjoy. I stayed moving in the bushes and from cover to cover, watching him from a distance, following him where he went, finding out who his friends were, and then hitting him where it hurts, kind of thing. And that was fun for me, not just, oh, he killed me 30 minutes ago, let me wait an hour and I'll go I'll go kill him. So I mean,
I'm just going to address something as well on the community meeting questions channel that I've just seen. Someone said Lawman don't role play, Lawman egos, because this is part of this subject. I played a Lawman. I played a Lawman for a very long time. How long was it, Lexi? Hold like 2.5 years, something like that.
Yeah,
Right?
something
I played
like
a
that.
Lawman character.
And a
Right.
Crim side by side.
When I hear and I turn up to wagon robberies and it's the same story from 5 different groups for the last hour going, oh, my wagon broke down, my wheel fell off, it's boring. You're using the same story, especially when I've seen you 3-4 times throughout the day, and it's the same story over and over again. Be more creative. When you become more creative with the law, they will be more creative and they're more swayed to go along with you and do the scenario rather than it's the same thing that everybody else does. Right? Use a different way of speaking with the lawman. Use a different storyline. Speak with them. Bring other role play scenarios with them. They will be engaging. I had a sword fight, right, as a negotiation from a bank in the middle of Saint Denis with loads of people watching. That was my negotiation. They went along with it. It's something they've never had before. I did a bunny hop race, right? Not just, oh, I want to run and I want to get on my horse and run, like, and shoot. Bring up scenarios. They will engage with the scenarios. It's whether you allow that to happen. You need to have that role play and have that option to do that with them. Otherwise, you're going to always think, oh, they don't role play. And you got to remember, lawmen don't have a choice to be in scenarios. They're forced into role play.
That's what I was gonna say. Is they're bouncing back to robberies or, you know, things like that. So it's the same scenario from their perspective over and over. The only thing that really changes is what counter role play you provide as a storyline. So what are you providing them to do differently?
Right.
To be
So
honest,
they're forced into role play into scenarios. They can't be corrupt. It's a server rule. If they're corrupt and they're found out, they get in massive trouble, if not permaban because of it. Right? They have to be engaging in certain scenarios. They can't just turn a blind eye. So you have to remember that as well. There has to be some leniency from you guys to see that as well. Right? And like Andy just said, you know, Andy was an lawman on another character many, moons ago. Lawmen have the same scene. They're going from one bank robbery to a fort robbery to a shootout to a murder to a bank robbery to a fort to a shootout. It's just a massive circle that they're trying to continuously go around. And you've got to remember, this isn't 5M. They got to get across the map on a horse or a wagon. It can't. It doesn't take them 2 minutes to get from Saint Denis to Armadillo. It takes like a good 5 to 10 minute ride. So you have to give chance and time as well on top of that. Now, I also want to address the water dumping rule because there has been a lot of confusion recently in tickets and discussions where people are a bit unsure on what it really means. Let me just pull up the exact word in here. Give me a second. So the word in here, right, specifically states you need to have at least 3 valid documented or recorded roleplay scenario / story that logically ends in a dump before initiating a dump, right? So this doesn't mean just 3 generic shootouts and then you can dump someone. There has to be a storyline behind it. There has to be a build up. Why does the person need to be dumped? Why do they need to forget everything? What's happened? What do they know about you that they can report to the law? What do they know about your family that they can report to the law? What do you not want them to know anymore? Right? So I'm going to clear it up here as well. There has to be a solid story behind a water dump, not just a gang on gang war because someone said, oh, you're a bitch and that's it, right? Build the role play, build the story. Now, in terms of the actual dumping, you have one negative. That started it. Let's say, for instance, right? You have that recorded and documented. You have the second. You have the third. After the third, right? Negative interaction, you can dump. So that does not mean you now need a 4th interaction to dump. This means, let's say it's ended, a 3-month storyline needs to be ended, and on the 3rd one, you've killed them. After that death of killing them, you can dump them. If you wait till the 4th, this opens up for them to come back at you and dump you. Right? So I want to make that very clear. There will be a section at the end of the community meeting. I don't know if Bunny's informed everyone where some people will be brought up on stage to discuss and ask questions. but I don't know if any of the staff members here, if I've made that quite clear on what that means. So on the third, after the third interaction, not on the third, after the third interaction has ended and you've got it documented, you can dump. So once that scenario is finished, you can now dump after that third interaction. Now going back to the other point of it is, please, everybody, push for more of
Hey,
the
I'm
what?
sorry to cut you off. Someone in the community chat was saying on the fourth interaction, basically. No,
No. So
you
you
can do
have the
it.
third. After that third is done, you can dump. So let's say you've had this third interaction, you've killed them. After they have died, that interaction is no longer continued. You can now dump them.
Meaning it can be done as part of the third interaction.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, I think that's where they're trying to say there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a separate event. You can complete the third interaction as part of that third interaction, then you can dump them.
So, but in terms of going back to the main point and focal point of this specific subject that we're on now, number 6, is that non-violent role play, in my opinion, is the best role play because that's what it's about. It's about the engagement. It's about the engagement with the other people, having the fun, having the laughs, having the jokes, and something happening off a spur, off of nothing. You could be stood in town with 5 people and it's pretty quiet, and then all of a sudden someone says something or you see something happen, and a massive scene can come out of that. Be more creative with each other. Be more creative and open and receptive to other members of the community getting involved with you and engaging with you. And one thing I hate seeing is people sat on benches in towns for 2-3 hours in head, status in head, and you're doing nothing. If something happens to you in that moment, that is on you, no one else. And I'm done for that point. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything or any additionals to that.
I'm having a little think because there was something that I wanted to say.
Yeah, same, but I forgot.
Yeah. For anyone who's not reading the community meeting like side chat, really we should be using spam because I'm trying to keep up with 4 different channels now.
Yeah.
I do want to say that this isn't a shit on lawman opportunity. The main reason of the majority of communities that have to do with roleplay, whether that's 5M, Redem, Star Wars RP, wherever you are, the main issue is the labeling and the baby blaming. So, lawmen will blame crims for being shitlords, and crims will blame lawmen for being win hungry and power hungry. That is a never ending cycle. All that I ask, and I won't say much on it, is look at yourself. Look at yourself and ask yourself, am I really perfect at role playing 100% of the time? Or could I be better? That's all I'll say on the matter. But this isn't a baby blaming competition that we're going to tolerate in the sidebar. Anyone else want to say anything?
That's it.
No.
I think, yeah, I just think more just receptive as well. I think there's a massive divide at the moment between civilians and criminals and the law department. And I think people seem to think that if they bring up scenarios or possible choices and different variations of role play between themselves and the lawman won't be receptive. I'm telling you now, they will be receptive. They will be happily to go along with the role play because it's different for them. It's something fresh.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say something about. Because every time I get a new or even if it's the slightest change in the story, I get extremely excited on my lawman. But if I hear the exact same story and over and over and over, it just gets boring. Like we
I think it's
hear,
important to take into account like what you just said as well. Like what Danny I think misunderstood was someone's point. I can't remember who it was. Smith Wesson. And yeah, I get it. For an individual who's going into a scene, it might be the first time that they've ever role played that their wagon wheel has broken, but the cop can be experiencing that for the 10th time that day. And yeah, that one person shouldn't really be punished or penalized for it because in their minds what they're doing is creative. But there are a lot of situations where one same person will be caught 3-4 times by the law and they won't switch up their story. And I mean, I used to roleplay a cop quite frequently, and I would experience it on a daily basis where I'd find the same group of people having the same story and say, yeah, I believe you for the third, fourth time. And it can be a little bit exhausting, but then at the end of the day, if you're exhausted with the role play, then maybe you should change it up a little bit. Make the effort to change things and be respectful of each other and each other's role play.
But yeah, essentially, we will speak. Bunny's the head of the law department. You've got some other people who are staff who are in charge of the law department. I think another thing we can do as well is to speak with them as well, just in terms of the law, and just basically, say, be a bit more light-hearted or be a bit more refreshing with you guys as well. It's not just on you; it's on them as well. And I will say that it's not just all of you guys; it is lawmen as well. And we have dealt with that, when it's come up. So I just want you guys to know.
For sure, it gets brought up a lot. But if you do not bring it to our attention or bring it to the attention of the people that are in charge of them, how are we supposed to do something about it? That's all I wanted to say.
And I do want to say, if you feel the need to be disrespectful at any point during this meeting, I will not hesitate to time you out. This meeting is about the roleplay of the community, and we as admins and staff also roleplay, and we also contribute to it. So yes, we can talk on our own experiences because we have experienced poor roleplay in the community, and that's
And I will,
exactly what this meeting is about.
And I will say, Tommy Tinkle, you say you guys have very different experiences than most of the community. Yes, we do, but little do a lot of people know. We also have characters that nobody even knows about that we go in and just role play to experience situations and issues going on, and we handle them. Just to answer your specific point there.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we'll move on to number 7, rules and regulations. Do you want to take that one, Tadsy?
To start out, what I usually see in county, if I'm talking from in character perspective, is that I see a lot of people just being on the line of a rule break, and they dance around that line on a very slim line. And I think what should happen is that you're not supposed to address each other in county. But what you can definitely do is go into somebody's DMs, for example, hey yo bro, this what you did, you're not supposed to check the rules, this and this and this. I think we need to address each other more on our mistakes, instead of just continuously doing them, or let it slide because it's your friend. Because what if let me bring it this way. If it happened to you or a random person from a random ass person, they will report it and your friend will be out or warned or banned or whatever. And just I don't know. Be more in regulation with the rules. Get familiar with them. Even if you have a question about the rule, hey, this is unknown to me, or this is a gray area for me, open a ticket. Feel free to ask. Even if you're a close friend of mine, feel free to ask. I don't mind. Just DM me, ask, and it's fine. Even if it's a small question, feel free to ask me. What I personally did when I wasn't a staff member is I went over the rules on like a weekly to a 2-weekly basis, just to remind myself, hey, don't do this, don't do that, and even I made mistakes, a lot of them, quite a few. But I learned from them. Quite a few. We're not gonna talk about it, Tommy. And also another important part is if you see a troll or somebody that is a frequent rule breaker, don't try to be your own judge. Don't go ahead and try to take matters into your own hands. Don't go up to them and be like, oh, you're not supposed to do this. Or when you killed somebody, don't try to address the rule that they broke to them. Just clip it, send it to us, continue what you're doing. If they're down, they're down. They're not. They can't do shit to you anymore. Or if you're down, they can't do shit to you anymore either. So you don't have to. I understand there's some heated moments sometimes where you feel like you need to address to them, but don't, because you're also breaking the rule. Another thing I wanted to address is what we get a lot in certain tickets is that we hear I didn't know about this rule, or oh, my bad, I didn't know. When you joined the server, when you whitelisted, or when we weren't whitelisted, you joined, you agreed to the rules, and you basically said that you read them. So any of those excuses in a ticket or whatever are invalid.
I've seen a lot of people who, and I'm not just saying you, Tatsy, but I've seen a lot of people who have racked up some warnings, man. I mean, talk about full rap sheet and make such a huge turnaround. I mean, sometimes, you give these people a chance and, they come a long way and become, prominent members of our community. I mean, sometimes, like, even you as a community member can help guide them in a right way in role play. I mean, you don't have to, like you said, call them out on their shit, like if it happened to you, but if you see somebody or one of your friends doing it, be like, hey, this is probably not the best thing to do. There's other ways that we can conduct ourselves, so that way we can have a good flow of story and everything.
It also breaks immersion once you start talking about rules, about angels, like anything you know of that is out of character. You don't know in character that we are admins or have certain powers for you to remove you from the community. So any talk about angels, tickets, clips, whatever the fuck, that you can't do in county, but you have to take it out of county to do something about, is basically talking OOC and a rule break. But yeah, Tommy, you were definitely talking about me because I have a rap sheet.
I will say what Taji said, just a quick one. Basically, to kind of wrap that up. You attempting to, let's say, rule explain or take matters into your own hands only puts yourself in trouble as well, because the best thing to do is literally just clip it and send it to us. That way we can handle it. Always let the rule. If someone's breaking a rule, just let them play it out, because we will handle that in the end. But when you try and take matters into your own hands, is when it becomes a bit more of an issue, because now we've got to deal with what you're reporting, then we've got to deal with the issue that you're doing, and then the other person's going to come back and say, but this person did this and this person did that. It's always best just to let it play out and then report it.
Just finish the scene and report it.
Yeah, even if you're annoyed by a certain scene and how it played out, and you think the rules were broken and it was unfair for you and you lost a few things, I'm pretty sure we can work something out in a ticket. Even if you went down, or they robbed you of something, or they didn't do it in the right way, it can be worked out. We can do more for you than you probably know.
Exactly. And a lot of you will know that we don't necessarily act on self-reports. Obviously, if it's something that's super egregious, then we have to do something about it. But if you're reporting someone and you self-report yourself, we'll act if the other player wants to report you, of course. But something that you need to take into account, it's not worth the warning. If something bad has happened to you in roleplay, just breathe, get through the scene, try and make the most of it, improve it where you can. And if you still have an issue when the scene's finished, then of course you can open a ticket and we'll try our best to handle it for you as quickly as we can. But there's no point getting upset about a situation and putting yourself in a situation where you can catch a warning as well.
Yes, and I also want to add, clips are really important. Evidence is really important. We can't go off of hearsay. We can't do he said, she said. We need to be able to have the evidence to look at, to be able to take action on somebody. I mean, there could be people here for 200, 300 plus hours, but if you don't have the evidence, we just can't take action. This is for more the new guys coming in, because I know we get tickets all the time where people come in and go, hey, they write out an extensive report of what happened to them, but we can't do anything because we don't have the evidence to handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that your tickets are actually showing your clips are actually showing context as well.
Make
We're
sure
not gonna
they're
go on a
long
whole,
enough.
like, yeah, we're not gonna go on a whole like report how to or anything because that's gonna then take us
I
on a
will. I
tangent.
will say.
But I do want to say as well, just quickly, someone brought up a really good point that staff don't see everything. Yes, there's a lot of us, but there can be situations that are happening in the server that we are completely unaware of. And then we get things like, oh, staff aren't doing anything about it. We'll do stuff about it if you report it. Please, if you have an issue with someone, don't just expect someone else to come forward because a lot of the time people don't. Either they think that we're not going to do anything about it, or they have the mindset of, oh, I reported this person once and I didn't see them banned, so nothing happens. That's not the case. Even if we can't do something in the moment, so there's not an exact rule break that's happened, it's definitely something that we can still like take into account. And if it's a group that's causing consistent issues but it's not quite a rule break, for example, we have our nerp. So nerping is to do with people who aren't necessarily breaking rules, but what they're doing is causing harm to the community. And in those cases, with enough reports, we look into it and we say, okay, well, these people are a problem and they need to be removed. So even if you don't see a rule break, but you just want to make us aware of something that's happening in the server, please do. Please, please, please. Go on, Danny. Do you have anything else?
One thing I see every day, and let's say I have 100 tickets, it's about 60%. If you're reporting someone, please try your hardest to grab the ID of the person, because we've then got to go. It makes it a lot harder and longer because we've got to try and figure out and ask the staff, right, does anybody know who this person is, to try and figure out if we can contact one person to find out who this person is, or to figure out how, we need to find this person. It's so difficult. You guys don't understand sometimes when you're reporting someone and there's no ID for us to figure out who that specific person is. So if you guys can and you are making a report, please try your hardest just to get that ID of the person. Server ID, so the number you get when you load in, so whatever your lucky number is. If you
there are
right
ways
click,
that we can get it, like if the person was killed or robbed or any sort of action that would pop up in a log. But sometimes there'll be like someone will say something that's maybe out of pocket, but no one gets their ID. And in those cases where they've not been shot, they've not been robbed, nothing has happened to the player in the clip or in the situation, we can't trace them. We have no clue who they are. There's people coming to server all day, every day that are new. So we just ask that it doesn't take much. All you have to do is focus on them for 1 second in the clip, and there you go. That's their ID. So, yeah, go ahead, Danny. Carry on.
no, I was just laughing because Fraser said, "Thank you, Danny. You're doing great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Honestly."
She's lying to you.
Yeah, but if we're all happy to move on from that, we can go to the next topic. Cool. I mean, we've kind of actually already gone over this. It's reporting and staff awareness. So just to recap, basically about staff can't don't see everything. So just make us aware of issues, even if you think other people are reporting it. It's always best to make your own reports. That way, there's a guarantee that we know that it's happening. We'll move on to point number 9, which is camp activity and management. And Cooper will talk a bit on this. Melvin's normally the GOAT when it comes to this stuff, but unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight.
Yeah, I won't do him justice, but yeah, basically camp activity and management. That is your responsibility. When you fork out the money to purchase a camp, it's your job to make sure that your camp meets the minimum requirements. So that means 5 active members, especially whenever the script runs to check that, which is on tax day every month. If you have less than the 5 active camp members, then it will repossess your camp. That's really just your job. I mean, we can't monitor all this stuff. We can't bring you into a warning. It's not like a business where we can give you a heads up and say, hey, you need to find somebody by next week. We just absolutely cannot monitor all these things. You guys have to do that. So that's really it. I mean, if your camp gets repoed and you come in with a, hey, sorry, I had 4 guys and I was trying to find that's your responsibility. We just can't monitor that. So as far as let's see, rating is concerned, guys, raiding a camp, even though you may not like it, it may not always be fun. That is a mechanic built into the game. So please don't view that as somebody being toxic. It's there to be done. Just like a robbery is there to be done, just like criminal roleplay is there to be done, and just like gunfights are meant to happen, raiding a camp is meant to happen. That is a mechanic that we built into the game intentionally. So don't open a ticket and say, these guys raided me and it was toxic, unless it was genuinely toxic. You know, that's something we built in as a functionality, and that was intentional. So my argument to that, or my encouragement, would be to go back to what Danny said, which would be to offer some counter role play. So when these robberies take place, don't just be finding the quickest way you can shoot back, or you can kill them, or you can quick draw on them, or whatever. Role play it out with them. Try to negotiate. Do anything above and beyond just looking for a way to get the drop on them, or hoping your pigeon got off to your family, or your family responds and just blast them into oblivion. Try to offer some counter role play. So, you know, don't always look for the gunfight way out. That may be the way out, but don't always seek that first. Really, not much more to elaborate on that. Moving on to out of county versus in county conversations, really want to make sure that we maintain clear boundaries between these two. So, alluding back to kind of what was said before, when you're having conversations, if you need to reference something out of county, just don't. Don't try to come up with creative ways to say admin. Don't try to come up with creative ways to say put in a ticket. If you need to report somebody or do something, let the scene play out and then just do it. You don't need to warn somebody. You don't need to tell somebody that they're about to break a rule, they're breaking a rule or whatever. Allow it to happen. And then again, if you know the person, feel free to bounce in their DMs if you want to and have a conversation. Say, hey man, you know, technically that was against the rules for whatever reason. But if you need to report the person, just report them. Don't warn somebody in the county. Don't tell somebody you're about to do it. Don't call them out while they're doing it. I've heard and been witnessed, and I'm sure the staff has too, where you show up and someone says, you know, no, you can't do that because you have one too many people, or you can't kill me, or you can't shoot back because I have more people than you, and it's no value of life. Or you know, you start rule explaining to people. Don't do that stuff. Same thing happens with references to in Discord conversations or announcements or things like that. Don't let that bleed over into the county, into the server. Try to separate those two, because it is really easy to quickly blur the lines between what's out of county, what's in of county, and the next thing you know, whether it's terminology, whether it's talking points, whether it was a conversation that happened via DMs, you blur those lines, and then we have issues with breaking character, things like that. So just be really conscious about your conversations and what you're talking about in the server. So
Here, well said.
Yeah, a lot of people simping over you in the chat there, Cooper, for a minute.
Yeah, he's
oh yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
He's
Make
mine.
a throne. I bet if people will buy you shit all the time.
Cooper, I'm gonna
He
send you a
makes it-
DM
if
right
he
now
makes
just
a
to get
throne, he
everyone
doesn't have
jealous.
to work anymore.
Want to make a throne
Okay,
and
on
add some
Yeah.
vibrators to it.
guys.
So
On
What
topic.
the fuck, Cooper? Just add my monthly bills to it.
Right, so we're going to move on to point 11, which is county law and documentation. So there is a lack of it. I'm not going to lie. That's nothing to do with the community's fault or anything. That's kind of something that we maybe should have focused on a little bit as staff. So in our county law, we basically just have like 3 sentences that are like, this is when the server is like, time set, like based, and that's basically it. By bringing this up, we want to kind of move into developing that and maintaining our county law. So, like, by law, I mean events that have happened that haven't just happened to like 2 or 3 people within their inner roleplay circle. By law, I mean things that have happened to the community through roleplay, like when we had the first purge event and how that affected the community and the stories everyone told that came from it and that people could relate to. Robo Crabs, thanks to Olivia, which was just a little joke that like went crazy into things. The train robberies that the police host. So story building story building events that catch on with everyone, giving you the opportunity to just join in. We're hoping that with the help of our new media team, we can kind of build some lore for you guys. I know that we have a lot of like D&D players in here, people who value that a lot. So it's definitely something that we'll be really interested and excited to work on. Olivia, I know that you kind of wanted to jump in and speak a little bit about lore.
Yeah, this is actually out of the entire agenda that we got. This is my favorite topic. I mean, just one point specifically. We had there's a point in here in story building events, that catch on with everyone. You just got to join in. I think that there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to get involved in role play. And I know that sounds crazy considering that this is a role play server and that everyone is interacting with each other, and these are definitely some role play interactions. But a lot of people don't know how to actually get involved in an event, start an event, steer an event, or something like that. Um, and like on my characters, I have Olivia, which everyone know probably. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who know some of the random stories that Olivia's got into when it comes to spooky stuff or other random stuff out there. Just the Taurian name in general has some weird connotations to it. But like my other characters, like the doctor with the RoboCrabs, something that things like that kind of just spring up because you're interacting with a lot of people. If you just like if you maintain your RP but you maintain it within a small group of people, it's not gonna have be as widespread. But I mean, if you are like what Danny said, is if you're running from town to town having interactions with people and that same story is getting in a couple places and involving others. Like I actually didn't start the RoboCrabs thing. That was started by another person, and then next thing we know, we have an entire wagon full of doctors running around, setting up perimeters around, infected people and things like that, and it turned into like law helping us out and like large events and stuff like that. It's like if you just have your story, and you get a lot of people involved. You just run around making sure that a lot of people and a lot of places are involved. Eventually you run into the other people who want to be involved in a story and they help you build the story, and next thing you know there's an event going on, there's multi-town events going on with people taking your story and running with it, and next thing you know there's people everywhere involved with it. It's just finding something exciting that you can um, get others involved in, and then when other people get involved in it they get that excitement too. I mean, that's really how you start it. Not every story is one that takes off, but um, eventually you'll find somebody else that's interested in the same topic, and there's the story will start to take off. Right now, I'm doing the judge thing, and that has taken off within a lot of people who are interested in politics or judicial role play, and maybe that's going to go somewhere. Maybe it's not going to go anywhere. Who knows? But I'm pushing the story and I'm trying to involve people, and other people are doing the same, and that's for people who really want to get stories out there, they want to get involved in stories, you just got to get a couple friends and start involving random people and seeing who latches on and who doesn't, and next thing you know, large county-wide stories are being built. So like this is my favorite topic. I think everyone, if you sit and you know evaluate your role play, you'll find ways to involve everybody else rather than just keep it in your group.
And find ways to create something. That's what role play is about, creating things. And like it was said in the chat, like the entire society of pharmacy, like pharmacist's role, was created because one player role played as an oil salesman, and it caught on. The whole undertaking society was made because one player role played an undertaker. These things catch on, and that contributes to our history as a server. So encourage these things to happen. And yeah, we do have the too many players and area issue, but I think something really important to take into account when it comes to creating these these situations is this is something that can happen any time of the day with anyone. It just needs to catch on. It's not Saturday night at 9 p.m. be here for the event. That's not what it is. They're not pre-orchestrated things. They're things that are built over time and get in it, and it will make the server a better place for everyone. And I think this is the kind of events that we need to be promoting and pushing. So get involved as much as you can. I'm sure you'll have a great time.
I'll add something. I'll add something on
Yeah,
that.
go
Sorry,
on.
go ahead. I was gonna say, 'cause I just seen somebody said, "Hey, why don't we just start a boxing ring or something like that?" No, listen. When it comes to role play, we're all here to role play, right? Don't wait for someone to start a scene. Don't wait for somebody to start something. You can start something. Go out there, go role play. If we have boxing arenas in county, go start a boxing, tournament. Go do this, that, and the third. That's how things start, is by having that one person with the initiative to go start something versus waiting for somebody to start something. Because if we're just all sitting around with our thumbs on our butt, I mean, ain't no roly poly gonna happen.
I mean, that's fun though.
Silence.
Wow, you're really gonna let it go silent after I said that?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
I didn't even
if
hear
there's
what you
anyone
said.
else that wants to contribute to that?
Huh?
He didn't dare. Does anyone else want to contribute to the topic of
I'm lost.
law? Okay, cool. No one. All right, we'll move on then. We'll speak about our 12th point of the meeting. We're slowly coming to the end here. We do have 15 points total. But Cooper, if you want to take it away with valuing your life within roleplay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So value of life or no value of life. Ultimately, we can sum this up with just role play out realistically. So try not to be a badass. Don't try to enter every gunfight trying to come out on top. Just act like you would for the most part in real life. If somebody approaches you and gets the drop on you with a gun, if you're squared off with them and they don't have their gun drawn but they're threatening you, feel free to fire back. If it's two people and you're fast, maybe. But ultimately, there's a lot of value in doing counter roleplay with this stuff. So somebody gets a drop on you, tries to rob you, so stick your hands up. Don't try to flip around necessarily and shoot back at them. Give them some counter roleplay. So say, yeah, man, sir, I'm sorry, I need to get home to my wife and kids, or my husband, or my family, or whatever. Is there anything I can do to negotiate, or how can I get home safely? Whatever you want to do. There are so many counter roleplay opportunities that are overlooked and missed across the county because everyone ultimately enters every situation with the desire to win. So we don't always have to do that. It's okay to take the loss. I know that's probably going to spark up a lot of chat about crims always do this, cops always do this. That's not the intention. I'm talking about individual interactions all the way up to engagements with law, engagements with crims, robberies, whatever it may be. Don't always look for how you can shoot your way out and win. Don't always look for, how you can ultimately come out on top of the opportunity. Sometimes there's a tremendous amount of missed value in just losing. Be okay with losing the scene, but provide the counter role play. Whether it's a robbery scene, whether it's a wagon event, whether somebody rolls up on horseback and just says, "Hey, stick your hands up," whatever the case may be. Just value your life like you would in real life. I know some of you guys are badass shooters in county. Some of you guys are probably badass shooters in real life, and you'll quickly say, "Well, if it was real life, I would do X, Y, Z, and I would, reach for my AR, reach for my pistol, and I would shoot back." Just humor me. 99 times out of 100, probably not. If somebody gets the drop on you, you're probably going to say, "Man, I don't want any problems. Take what you want, take my wallet, take my whatever." In this case, grab my wagon. Just please don't hurt me, etc., etc. Your ultimate goal is to get home to your family safely, to get home to your friends safely, to survive. It's not going to be how fast can I whip my pistol out and shoot back at these people. So I'm not saying you can't do that. Obviously, we got some good gunslingers in the county, but try to find the value in counter role play. And again, that doesn't always necessarily mean that you have to come out on top with a gunfight. You can talk your way out of it sometimes, negotiate, just have dialogue. I mean, the whole point is to role play with people. And the key being to play. We're all adults here, but ultimately it's a game. We're playing, we're engaging with each other, and we're playing through scenes with each other. You don't have to be the fastest gun in the West. You don't always have to have a chip on your shoulder and be ready to shoot everybody. Just value your life like you would in real life. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to bore you guys with going through, rule number 19 for the county laws, talking about valuing your life. You can read through that yourself. You can see the guidelines that we have put in place, but ultimately, guys, those are just thresholds. Those are guidelines to know when you push it too far, that's a safety net to catch you and say, this is where you are forced to stop, whether it be the 4 individuals, sorry, 3 or more, when they draw guns on you, when you're threatened with physical harm, things like that. But think within those bounds how you would do it in real life. And this also goes to things like being threatened with jail time. So you as an individual, if you were arrested in real life, and again, we probably got some thugs, we probably got some people that have been to jail, maybe been to prison, maybe you're not scared, that's fine. Most people, I would say, again, 99% of people are going to be scared to go to jail, to go to prison. Your character should be realistically scared of consequences with the law and going to jail. You shouldn't walk in and say, "No, that's cool, take me to jail, I'll pay $50,000 in fines and whatever." You should be legitimately concerned about going to prison. So again, don't always look for the win. Don't always look for the ways to shoot your way out. Just because you got big pockets and you're sitting on $500,000 and you can afford to stay in prison the rest of your character's life, don't always throw that out there. Be concerned, be scared, offer that counter role play, whether it be to the criminals, whether it be to the law, whether it be to other civilians. Just value your life like you would in real life. That's really all we ask there. So
Your next, Red.
Oh, we're on 13 already? Sheesh.
His name is Sexy Red.
Alright.
Say it right.
Yeah. So, reducing idle behavior in town. Now, I know this is going to be super hard for everyone because we're all a big community. We all like to sit around towns and hang out with our friends. But as we all know, CFX, Red M, they all have a big issue when it comes to having a lot of people in one spot, right? We all go invisible. Nobody can RP. It's really annoying. Makes our job hard. Makes your fun hard. It sucks. So we've noticed that a lot of people just sit in towns, just hanging around, waiting for something to happen. What's up? Oh, I thought somebody wanted to speak. Sorry. Waiting for something to happen. There's no need for it. I mean, we want to encourage everyone to go plant crops, go RP. Most of us have camps. We all have areas where we can go hang out, go touch grass inside of county versus just sitting in a town, dirt, mud. There's really no need for it. I mean, for God's sakes, we even have an item to clean yourself off because people don't want to go touch grass, right? I mean, there's mountains we can go hang out at. There's multiple RP areas where we can go and hang out versus just sitting in a town all day, right? Go fishing, go play poker, go plant, go chop trees, go engage in RP with everyone around in county. There's so much to do versus just sitting on a bench or in your head, AFK, however you want to say it, in town, just waiting for something to pop off. And then when, going back to what I said about gangs of families, when something does pop off, now everybody's in a bad mood because no one can see each other and just people are dying left and right. Right? That's not something we want. I mean, we want to push more in a serious RP and we want to make this a little bit more of a serious server. And that starts with everyone here, right? We have to engage, be more into RP with everyone, even for the greenhorns. We have to change the culture now, because if we don't do it now with us, then the greenhorns that come in are going to be the generic bald-headed, RDMer that just wants to kill everybody because everyone's just sitting in town lollygagging bullshit.
Easy now. Being bald's okay.
Ew.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yo.
And I
Just
will
because you're
say,
balding
like,
doesn't mean it's okay.
to add on to what he said, we understand that there's those of you who need to be in town because either you're running a business there or you're filling your shop and stuff like that. Me personally, there have been situations where I've needed to go into town. There is no way about it. I need to go in that town to take care of something within roleplay, and I can't because there is three groups of 10 people who are just sitting on a bench, fucking around, stabbing each other, punching each other, talking. And for those of us who actually want to roleplay and go into town for actual reasons, we can't because you're preventing us from doing it. So I will say, if you're in town and you have a valid reason to be there within your roleplay, to go there to meet someone, to catch a bounty, to run your business, to fill your store, that's okay. But just be conscious when you're standing there with 8, 10 people messing around and think, hey, I have a camp where we can go do this. Go do it at your camp. For your kit, you're asking how is hanging out stopping RP? The reason why it stops RP is, unfortunately, for those of you who are a bit newer, CFX has an issue with Redem where when you have more than kind of like when you hit the bracket of like 27 plus people in one area, you start to have visibility issues. So you start to not be able to see people. And
One sync.
that prevents people, one sync. It prevents people from role playing what they need to go role play. Either you need to meet someone for an order or whatever reason. You need to meet someone because someone's being arrested and they've requested someone higher up. It's not very fun when they can't see the higher up. So just take all these things into account and just be fair with each other. That's what I have to say.
oh, that's all I had to say.
All right, we will move on to 14 media channel guidelines. Rick.
Already, time has flown by. I'm gonna keep it very short. We have our beautiful media channel. We use it for sharing moments in county with each other, and making sure we remember them for a long time. And I want to remind everyone that it's there. Please use it. We are going to post a lot more content on our social channels very soon, and we need your help. Please share interactions you have that you're proud of, or moments you have with your friends that are a bit funny and whatnot, and share images of what you're doing. It's amazing to see for everyone. But with that said, most of you probably know, but as a reminder, we do not want to see shooting montages or, oh, look how many people I'm robbing this afternoon. I got 5 of them. No, we don't want that. We want to keep it a nice place where we can share good role play with each other to inspire each other and help each other out. And I think that's all I wanted to say.
Well said. For
Thank
those
you.
of you who don't know, Rick's taken over the media team. He's going to be basically making sure that we're actually putting content out, and hopefully the message that we'll be sending out is the fact that we want to focus on some more serious role play, and hopefully we'll be bringing in some more greenhorns who come into the server knowing that.
Yes.
Yes, go Rick. And
Go
obviously
everyone.
everyone else,
Yeah.
and everyone else who's applied to join the media team. Good things are coming. With that being said, we've reached our 15th point in the meeting, which is actually just kind of a little bits and bobs that don't really fit into any of like our talking points or criteria. One of those things is you may have noticed that a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago? I'm losing track of time now. But a few days/weeks ago, we released kind of an events roadmap. I just want to say a couple things on this. So it was very kind of mysterious and obscure. Basically, they were just event names with kind of the idea of what the events may possibly be. One of those things is a scavenger hunt. and we'll be releasing more details specifically on that event over the next couple of days. And that event is aimed for August. As we've been talking about kind of the issue with one sink and not having many people in the area, we've also had a continuous issue over the years of having Sim County where we struggle to host events. And events are stuff that bring the community together and allow people to meet people they probably wouldn't meet under different circumstances. So what we've decided to try and do is make events that don't necessarily mean that people have to meet here at Saturday at 8 o'clock, because then that encourages people to gather at one point at that time, and then those issues start happening. These events that we have planned are hopefully going to help encourage everyone to partake in them and allow everyone to partake in them, because we've come up with a system that will hopefully allow the event to happen over the course of days without staff having to burn themselves out and constantly monitor the event. So I won't speak too much on it, but essentially we've now got a menu that allows us to give you guys rewards for completing these events, and they can then be set up. And once they're set up, the event can happen for a week straight if we wanted to, and that will then allow people to go with their events, go with their friends, experience the event and the role play whenever they want within the event time. So if we schedule the event for a week, they can go on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at whatever time of the day they want, experience it, create their own role play from it, and hopefully have some fun with it as well. Did you want to do the second point on there, Danny, or do you want to?
What was that? Sorry.
For another time.
What was that for?
Point 15 and the second point. I won't say it because in case you don't want to do it.
Yeah, and I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it now.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Go on.
So, we had the bloopers reel channel made for an event. I've seen some really great, hilarious clips in there. I will say I'm going to be keeping that channel open because I think the community as a general has loved using it and utilizing that channel just for funny moments. Because I see media more as, showing off your events and what you're doing. Bloopers is more about the funny moments and things that happen that ain't supposed to happen. As you're aware, there was going to be winners picked for first, second, and third. This will become a recurring thing. So every month, we're going to be reviewing the clips and picking out three of the top 3 clips that we think are the funniest or the most weird things that have happened in your clips. And the 3 winners are going to be in first place, Little Moose McGavin. In second place, Grady Knox / Henry Holyfield. And in third place, it will be Emma Douglas. The prizes are going to be 10, 5, and 2.5k for the winners. Like I said, this will become a recurring thing, so please keep your clips going on in there. Rick might be able to correct me, but I think the media team are also going to be using these clips to post up on the socials as funny moments as well, because sometimes it is about having the fun and the jokes, and something we can all watch and enjoy from everyone showing their funny bits and bloopers.
I saw you unmute there, Rick. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to agree, but then I thought, why? Yeah,
Why?
we're
Yeah.
probably gonna use it. Yeah, yeah.
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 Cool. Okay. So congratulations to those of you who won something. I never win anything, so nice. Next thing we're gonna do is I'm not gonna. I did note that I do a recap of our key points discussed, but I think it's pretty clear what we discussed, and of course we've recorded the meeting and we have our notes here as well that we'll post with that. So I don't feel the need to do that. Something I do want to bring up is mayors. Recently we've had the elections and there are the new mayors in play. I do really want to encourage you guys, of course, like there's going to be issues that you have, whether that's with law or people. One sec. Sorry about that. Was I fuck? I don't even know where I was now. What were they saying, Danny?
I can't remember.
Oh
If
yeah,
I'm eating my
Where-
dinner. Huh?
Oh no. Yeah. There are going to be issues that you'll have with whether that's with the law, whether that's with outlaws, people causing issues, robbing, and stuff like that. Of course, you can make a ticket if it's an issue, but what we really want to also encourage is giving you guys the opportunity to solve these things within roleplay. So, for example, if there is a group going around causing havoc and robbing and role playing outlaws, that's not a bad thing either. It's not bad to be a criminal. Being criminal has consequences. You can take your concerns to the mayor, and the mayor will then discuss with the law department, gather intel on these people, and they can be outlawed from the town. So please, if you have any issues as far as outlaws go, or even the police themselves, if you have any gripes or complaints, you can take them to the mayor, as they're not a body of the law department. And if they see enough evidence gathered against that officer, then that's when they can take it to the law department and raise your complaints on your behalf. That's what they're there for. So please utilize them. I'm sure they'll love to hear from you all. With that being said, I want to say that as far as community meetings goes, we've never really had kind of like set dates, nor do we plan to. However, we do want to kind of introduce some more structure behind them. So we've kind of always done them randomly on a whim, kind of when we feel like it. But from now on, moving forward, the plan is to do them every 6 months. So this one is kind of like our mid-year community meeting, and our next one we'll try and have towards the end of the year, where we can talk about plans for the new year. Obviously, in our community meetings, we don't really discuss any dev stuff, because it's not really up for discussion. Obviously, we have our suggestion channels that you guys are more than welcome to utilize, and we can go through and look at them, especially if they're good ideas. We love to hear them. But this is more so, as it says in the title, for the community. So we talk about issues, reminders, exciting things coming through that we are in control of. So that's hopefully the plan for December. And as I said, our events roadmap that encompasses everything event-wise that will be happening for the rest of the year. So from August to December, and then after that, we'll kind of release everything in the next meeting, and hopefully we'll have some exciting stuff in the pipeline. I think now kind of that's all of our points done. Everything that everyone wanted to say is out there. We'll now leave it to you, the community. It has been about an hour and a half as we've been doing this meeting. So I think if we spend the next, I'm going to say maybe half hour going through the questions. And again, if we don't get to them, we apologize. And it may be that we've already answered them as well. So we'll go through those now. I'll have a look. Right, where is the channel? Okay, so we'll start with Smith. Can we get some more acknowledgement or suggestions on support forms when they've been implemented or not? Me and Cooper, a while back, went through them and kind of put them in like a possibly maybe pile, and a yes and no pile. The ones that were complete no's, we did reply to them at the time saying that unfortunately this wouldn't be implemented. Either it's not possible through development wise, or sometimes you guys had these crazy fucking good ideas, like elaborate, super cool ideas, but unfortunately they're just not achievable. Like they're stuff that of course we would love to do, but for development wise, it's not something that we'd be able to do, or it would or it would affect a plethora of other jobs or scripts that would be way too convoluted to even think about implementing. So although that we love to hear it, those are kind of things that we can't do. But as far as ones that we can do go, me, Cooper, the rest of management, we do have plans to sit down soon-ish, depending on what else we have to do on our to-do list, and go through them and give you guys some answers on whether or not it's even possible to do those things. So sit tight on that one, and we'll try and get that sorted for you. I feel like we've covered your question, Ralph, about civ events. Covered. Is the semi-whitelisting a permanent thing? I've noticed a huge downtick in people wanting jobs like ranching and such. So originally we had planned for it to be 1 month on, 1 month off. I can't give you a yes or no on whether we're going to remove the whitelist after a month. The plan was when we implemented it to kind of see how it goes. Originally, for those of you who were with us last year, around this time last year, we also whitelisted, and that is one of the main reasons why we lifted the whitelist completely, because we didn't our economy, fortunately but unfortunately, heavily relies on new players to keep the wheel spinning. And we've had thousands of whitelist apps come through this last month, and things have been really nice. But we have noticed that a couple businesses are suffering when it comes to that pedaling that wheel with the grinding that the new players do. So to answer your question, yes, it is. The hope is that one day it will become permanent, but as and when we need it, we will lift it to allow kind of like open the floodgates and kind of replenish what we need the community to have, and that's people doing the jobs that no one wants to do in the beginning, or no one has the drive to do anymore. So I hope that answers your question, Samuel. Um, Any idea if new players will be welcome to county with a kit containing a training book on how to do things? For example, how to tell someone their horse is broken or what side saddling means. So like a county talk. Well, we do have our help page in the Discord. I think that people kind of tend to forget it's there. A lot of people are really good at kind of directing new players to it, saying like, "Hey, if you have more questions, you can also read this," because the help book is kind of how to in the county rather than do and do not in the county. As far as books go, I know that one amongst many brilliant ideas the media team are discussing is possibly bringing in some official tutorial books. But again, that comes with time. I know that it's personally something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I did not and do not have the skills to do it. I'm not a very, I like to say I'm not a creative person, so unfortunately, we'll have a look at that, but we'll see where it goes.
Hey, Bunny, real quick, just so
Yeah.
you're not repeating answers to questions we've already answered in there, I've put check marks on everything that we've
Yeah.
answered.
Oh, okay, cool. Three Toes said, "I would like to voice my concerns, and the whitelist is a lot of business." Okay, well, we few things I would like to bring up from Charlotte. The economy. I'm aware there is a union which would be compared to the Willy Wonka chocolate cartel influencing the market to increase the price of regular/everyday items. I personally have no issue with that, as I pretty much have reached all of the goals in terms of items I want to obtain, and I am mostly concerned that there has been a big influx of petty crime and robberies that lead nowhere, and I think it's highly influenced by the shift within the economy. Seeing greenhorn slaving away at the mines is painful to watch, so I randomly stop by the mines and help newcomers to get started, as I know it's difficult to get up on your feet at first. Yes, I mean, the beautiful thing about our economy is the fact that you guys control it. If you want the price on something to go up, you make it go up. If you want to bring down the price, you crash the market. It's in your hands, honestly. I mean, props are a perfect example. Or even legendary pelts. Like people who want to pay pay a higher price for it will pay a higher price for it, and then there are people who disagree with the price and they'll send the market crashing down. So that's the real beauty about our economy, if I'm going to be completely honest. People decide what they want to do with it. The law
Can
have not
I?
experienced this. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I wanted to address something specific on that too, and that so if people are raising the price of food items and things like that, things that are crafted items or secondary kind of items, people have the ability to open up their own shop that is competing with it. So if you want to drive the price down, sell something cheaper. If the problem is materials and stuff like that, like there are less people, like we know that the farms are extremely busy. For instance, the mines, there's a number of concerns there, whether they're outputting orders or to people or not. But when it comes to that, like the prices, if you think that the mines are giving you too high of a price, hire people directly and go mining. If you think people are giving farm or if they're farming at too high of a price and you're not buying crops at the right price, you can compete directly with that. You can farm your own crops and put them in the store. So like you have the ability to compete and drive the price down. If the price is not being driven down, that means nobody's competing to drive the price down. And maybe if you believe that's a problem and you believe you can't compete, then do so. Then you have the power to actually step in and do that. If nobody is doing that, then the market is setting the price. So that's the price that we're at right.
Exactly. Basic economics 101. Victor, you've addressed some things that require dev work, so I'm just going to skim over those because, again, we can't really influence that. But you do mention, can we talk about the clutter of shops on every crate, barrel, and wheel in town? We should have designated market plazas or town per building to allow for the community to have easier RP and actually designated stores to go through rather than going to the nearest barrel next to the bank. Fortunately, again, but unfortunately, my personal opinion on storefronts is I don't particularly like them. However, they are ingrained into our community. We had taken a few steps a while back to kind of minimize the amount of stores that there are. So, for example, previously, we had a lot less houses and doors were allowed, and all sorts of things were allowed for storefronts to be placed on. And there were storefronts everywhere. Now, I like to think that you can actually walk down the middle of Blackwater and not be kind of spammed with stores because we got a lot more strict in where and where not you cannot place them. So I like to think that it has got a little bit better, but as far as like completely over policing storefronts and stuff like that, unfortunately, they contribute too much to the functionality of our community to be able to police on a higher level further for that matter. Are there any tricks for clothing menus? Going to the clothing store always takes away all my clothes or random remove stuff or closet to glitch out. As far as glitches go, I'd say if you're having issues, make a ticket and see if a staff member can help you. I haven't heard of that being an issue before, but I'm sure staff can give you a hand if you explain the issue a bit more in depth in a ticket. One of the major problems we face in Sin County is breaking character. And it's extremely deterring towards actual serious role plays that allow us to pursue character development and lore. Is there any plans to crack down on it? We've addressed breaking character. As far as cracking down on it goes, we have our very specific rule set. We just rely on you guys to be reporting these issues. Don't report it, there's nothing we can do about it unless we completely witness it ourselves as staff. So that's all we ask. Just report it, guys. Just a friendly reminder. Value of like, okay, you're replying to something. What is the difference between shit talk and toxicity? Where is the line that is being drawn? I think the line and where it's drawn is if the moment it becomes morally wrong, as in like you know that you're no longer speaking to the character rather the player, that's when you need to consider your words. I think there's a difference between someone coming in and we'll just take the law for example because I know that both sides experience both crims versus cops experience a lot of toxicity from each other. If you've been arrested and you're saying, "Oh, fuck you, you," sorry, the cops like, "You criminal scumbag" and stuff like that. That's not being toxic. That's just kind of lingo that's been around in the roleplay community for a long time. Like calling someone a criminal cumbag or a criminal cumbag is just general lingo. The moment that they start to attack someone that can be seen like towards an OOC level, then I'd say you need to start reevaluating what you're saying and questioning, is this actually roleplay or am I just saying it to hurt someone? When it comes to a lot of the toxicity tickets, we have to see those very individually. So the best advice I can give to you if you feel like someone is being toxic towards you is to open up a ticket and allow staff to review it. Because a lot of we can't say, okay, well, you can say this, but you can't say that. You can say this, but you can't say that. A lot of it is very specific to the situation. So that's the best way I can really say it. There is no black and a lot of our rules. There is no black and white straight line. So you have to take that into account as well. What would you say a negative interaction entails? Personally, I feel like we've been quite in depth with that and we've covered that. But I would just, to summarize, say a negative interaction would entail something within roleplay reasons that it can be anything. I would say spin your question around. I'd say what interactions do we want to see? Anything with roleplay, not just something that's okay. Well, bang, you're dead. Now that's a negative interaction. It has to have an actual storyline build up to it. I'm assuming you're talking about water dumping. Your question is quite obscure. Slight point in the right direction for greenhorns would be nice. Yeah, we discussed that. Whether it's in game or in Discord, being a bit more nice to new players would be nice. Anything going to happen about camps on legendary / horse spawns? There are some spots that we kind of say, hey, you can't have a camp here because it fucks with the spawn. For example, Cooper, did we put in a blacklist on some spots? I believe we did, right?
Yeah, for some of the horse spawns.
Yeah, so some of them, not all of them, because a lot of them are not as used. And there are a lot of them. We did put in some within the code, some blocks to say that people can't put camps there for that specific reason. But as far as blocking all of them goes, we don't have any plans to do that. I don't know if you've had such a scheme or been thinking about it, but have a mentorship program where more experienced people could take someone under their wing and teach them the ropes? I feel one sec. Sorry about that. Mentorship program. I feel like that would be a bit too kind of OOC if you're talking about taking like greenhorns under your wing. If you want to clarify a little bit on there, feel free to. But if that's what you are talking about, I feel like that would be a bit like kind of immersion breaking. Is scamming considered robbing? Can you kill someone after you scam them? That's a good question. And if I'm going to be quite honest with you, does anyone else want to maybe give an opinion on that? Because
On what?
I feel like it's very
Sorry?
situational.
What?
Is scamming considered robbing, and can you kill someone after you've scammed them? I feel like it depends on how soon the person realizes it's a scam
And how it happens.
Yeah, again, it's one of those questions where it's very blurry, the situation, because there is no situation described. So I'd say I'd definitely steer away from it if it's something that you're planning. But we're gonna need a bit more context on that because, yeah.
It all depends on the context behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't just tell somebody, hey, give me like 5 or this amount of money, and then go ahead and kill them. It's technically robbing.
That's why role play is extremely important.
Yeah. All I'm saying is this is my first role-playing game, right? I had no idea how things worked. For example, money making, communication, hunger, thirst, etc. So when I'm asking for just simple guidance, like for example, it took me 2 weeks to even find a contact for the job I wanted to do. So when I asked for a little heads up, all I got was Asking County. It's very easy to say if you're knowing exactly who and where to ask, but a fresh greenhorn such as myself, there's no help at all. Thankfully, when I was considering quitting the game, I got a mentor, Charlotte. I can't say your last name. I apologize. And that's been the best thing ever. So I got lucky, but I can imagine most don't get the fortunate help I've received. and will most certainly be repaying mentorship debt to someone in my position when I can. I know that there is a lot of people in the county who literally dedicate their whole roleplay experience to helping new players, whether that's owning a ranch, a camp, employing people. They some of them do it for their own personal gain, but there's not much you can gain from greenhorns apart from friendships. So there are a lot of people in the county. You just have to be fortunate enough to bump into them early on, because I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. It can be difficult in the beginning, especially when you're met with find out in roleplay asking county. There are a couple nods and hints that people can give you. It just, again, it's so much to do with luck and who you bump into in your first hours of playing the game. But I'd like to think that the majority of our community is pretty helpful.
I mean, I would add to that. It's just like real life. It's all about the people you meet, who you communicate with, the people you put around yourself. I mean, if you put yourself around a bunch of people that are just doing drugs and being shitlords, you're gonna be doing drugs and being shitlords, in real life. In our community is the same way. You walk around, you talk, you role play, you can see the people that are gonna help you succeed and the people that aren't gonna help you succeed.
Well, not only that, but often when people are telling you, like, ask in county, like they're not being the nicest about it. They're, because they've said it a billion times, but they are trying to help you. Because if we go back in the questions above this one, a lot of people are talking about one of the biggest problems are, people breaking character, things about meta or something, people crossing the lines between their character and in a character and out of character. And by trying to tell you, like, that this is an in character question, you know, while they should expound on that a little bit more, they're just so used to saying, you know, find out in character, but it's kind of a meme at that point. But they should be expanding and say, this is an in character question. This is something you should be asking people, from your character's point of view to other characters' point of view to search out the answer, because there are a lot of things out there where the search is part of the role play. The search to find that answer is part of the role play. Um, and so, like, taking enjoyment from the asking people, the finding out, which ranch to go to. I mean, if you know right away, just go ahead and put a mark on that, that spot and head there. You missed out on so much interaction and discovery of the process that you'll never realize you missed out on. So when yes, people should, and I say that to the whole community. It's like when people say find out in character, you should be saying more about why finding out in character is important. But some things they're finding out in character rather than out of character, and metaing it is like the important way to make sure that you're going to actually enjoy the experience.
Yes. Exactly.
Can I say something else?
You can go over it.
I also wanna bring up the concept. We do have a lot of greenhorn, newer people in the community that come in and ask for help. You know, this one's for the OG players. As our OG players that's been here for a year and a half, 2 years, since county's been open. I know you can get a little bit tired with people asking the same question a million times, right? But just remember when you were at that point, when you were new, you know, we're here to help people. We're here to enjoy communities. People that complain about pricing. I mean, hey, that greenhorn that just popped in, tumbleweed, armadillo, you just met. He could be that guy that farms for you and helps you with what you need to get done, right? And I've seen a lot, in tickets and whatnot of people, even our OG players, taking advantage of some greenhorns and saying, "Hey, go do this," or "Hey, go shoot that person in the face," and making basically that person break a rule because he's new and he doesn't know. It's pushing a lot of our greenhorns away, and we do have some people that uh hang out in the towns and they could have attitudes and whatnot and are just shooting around and playing around and end up killing a greenhorn sometimes 2-3 times and ends up turning that greenhorn into a bad guy they end up doing mass RDM or sniping from across, Valentine Church. We've all been there, So what I would say is, just try and help the community. We're all a part of it. We're here to help, and I would like to see more in everyone just helping everyone out versus just being making people punching bags. That's all I got.
Especially in county. Try to guide, because that's where I got my most information from. I just went around. I learned everything in county, aside from asking out of county, because you get more information that way too, and you might come across another question that you have going with the original question. For example, if you don't know how to do sus and you try to then do the exact same thing and you still don't, or once they told you how to do A, you come across B, that becomes a problem. So it's better to have somebody around you that knows in county than instead of asking in Discord. You'll learn a lot more in county.
Exactly. And you might make a friend along the way.
That
Data
too.
Green, has gang whitelisting ever been discussed amongst the staff team? I feel like this could benefit how gangs and families collaborate with each other and help hold them accountable in certain situations. Overall, I feel this could help quite a bit. Just wanted to know your opinion on it. We have discussed it. Unfortunately, for a plethora of reasons, we won't get into it. We've decided not to do it. But it has been discussed very in depth amongst the staff team. Could there ever be a meeting with business owners and the business team members to discuss how we can improve or help each other out, keep businesses thriving in the county? I'm not sure if I like that or hate it.
I feel that would be more of like a schedule out with people in county thing. Like go to the other blacksmiths and be like, hey, let's have
Yeah.
a meeting to discuss.
That's what
Yeah.
the gunsmiths used to do
That's
as
what
well.
the bounty hunters
And it
do.
worked.
Yeah. There used to be like a gunsmiths union and stuff like that. I feel
A
like
little
that is
bit.
something that could definitely be tackled more on an in-character basis rather than having staff and the business
It's more
team
fun.
intervene with it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's more fun to do it through RP as well. Gives you
Please
something
increase
to do.
the criminals on scene because we are on a massive disadvantage on being crims because we can't rob a bank where 12 or 7 are on scene and we are only 5. In most situations, you'll be half disadvantage with the police, and that's how it should be. Unfortunately, we have no plans on increasing criminal count. Would there be any possibility or consideration in decreasing the roaming rule to 5 or maybe 6 crims? As of recently, it's very difficult to deal with 10 criminals robbing people or gangs of 10 going after another gang of 10 inside town, where that town is already overpopulated with other civilians. Some groups are good and try and take things out of town, but recently there's been a lot of huge gunfights between gangs in town, or maybe have something where they have to go out of town with gang beef. Something that can be discussed. In fact, can one of you take that question and put it in our staff discussion, please? Thank you. Seen your little tick. Hilda.
What was the question?
Hilda's already on it. Can you put a little tick?
Alright.
Let's have a look. How does it check activity based on 5 camp members or based on actual activity in camp kind of thing? Cooper, do you want to answer that one from Samuel?
Sorry, chat. What was the question?
How does the camp activity stuff work? So is it based? He said is based on 5 camp members or based on actual activity in the camp kind of thing.
It's based on 5 active camp members, so people logging in and on that character, essentially within that month. So basically, the script runs on the 15th to check and see if somebody has logged in within the last 30 days, and it takes that into account.
There is some manual checks that Melvin does. So, for example, shops, housing, and all that, that's all run through a script, and the script automatically says, okay, this player hasn't paid their tax, we'll repo it. As far as hideouts goes, I personally have to manually audit all the hideouts in the server. And that's like a 2-week, not bi-weekly, every 2 weeks kind of thing. When it comes to specific things with the camps, we do look into the players' activity as well, but that's something that we have to do manually. So it's your responsibility as a camp owner to make sure that your camp participants, at least 5 of them, are active in the server. Yes. That's why you can have up to 20, because having up to 20 camp members makes it so there is absolutely no way that you're going to fail that audit. So just make sure that you're not just skirting by with 5 members. Can we do more gambling here in the county like GTA with the casinos in the 1900s? I'm not going to read the rest of your question, Three Toes, because as far as having more things to do with gambling goes, gambling is one of the most easy things to exploit in every server, and it's one of the biggest issues that 5M communities have, because people will always find like the meta when it comes to gambling, and because gambling pulls from not player pockets rather than from the void. It's not something that we want to use to circulate even more wealth into the community. Poker's fine because you're gambling amongst each other's money, but when it comes to other stuff, we'd rather not integrate that into the community. Advice for new people: communicate. Find as many friends as you can as quickly as you can. That's my advice to you. Status on the updates in Blackwater and Limpany. Super. That's a nice one for you.
Yeah, I actually already answered that question in there. It was answered in another chat.
Okay, you didn't tick it.
Sorry, I didn't know we were doing that at the time. So, ultimately, Blackwater and Limpany, because I answered it somewhere else. The reason we put up the announcement and we put the in-county donation spots, I say donation, we are paying for them. We're just paying a quote-unquote government rate, so it gives you something for it. That's for the community to basically feel like they're participating in the rebuilds. Ultimately, these MLOs are going to go in probably over the next few weeks. I don't know the exact dates because we're doing some testing and some stuff is actually still being custom built for us. So chances are Blackwater will likely go in first, and Limpany will come maybe 3 weeks or so behind that. So it just depends on when those are finished up. But yeah, I mean, it's instead of it just overnight saying, boom, next update, Blackwater, Reborn has been added, or Blackwater Overhaul, we're giving the community a chance to just kind of add to that with lumber and wood and supplies and materials. So just a way to keep you guys engaged. Stanley, I just saw your question. Coulter is an option and something we are considering.
Awesome.
Where are these questions coming in? I don't see them.
There's like 3 different chats. I'm viewing the community meeting one.
God.
Will there be more for the supernatural community in the server? That's a really difficult question to answer, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind closed doors when it comes to that kind of role play. I feel like if you're already involved with that kind of stuff, that's definitely something to direct to the people. I mean, if you're involved in it, you know who does run that shit. So please, I'd say to stop kind of any sort of meta leaks as far as all that kind of roleplay goes. I'd say keep it within that community, that sub community within the community, and ask that question there. And I'll be better suited.
Can I address one thing with that?
Yeah, go for it.
So people ask about, more or, direction and things like that with Supernatural Community all the time. And I think one of the important things about the way that Sin County does this is that, blatant supernatural like activity is not something you see in 1900. That, blatant just, in your face out there stuff tends to be fail roleplay. But, people believing that they have magic powers, or people believing in the occult, people believing in seances, tarot, and things like that, and people having superstition and things like that is a common thing. And that puts you in a situation where if people are believing things that, may or may not be true, and like that's a common thing, you can roleplay your beliefs out without any mechanics at all. If you roleplay that you have magic powers, obviously that's fail roleplay. But I mean, anyone can role play out their beliefs, and it's like the spookiness and the shadows, when it comes to that kind of stuff is important. So like that's the great thing about the time period is that everyone believed in these seances, everyone believed in and all kinds of stuff like this. But there's the time where religion was meeting science, and people are kind of figuring out what they believe. There's scientific stuff, but there's still um, you know stuff that people believe in as well. So um, there's nothing holding you back from figuring out what your belief system is and kind of role playing that from the shadows without any mechanical support at all. If you need mechanical support to actually do it, then it's probably not a strong role play.
There's a question that came up from Bonnie Blackwood. Has there been a fix, or you guys working on a fixing the hand accessories? This is something that is completely out of our control. CFX did a new update recently, and it's just a matter of time of waiting for them to fix it. There's nothing we can do about props or anything like that. It's completely out of our control. So it's just a matter of time of waiting for them to fix that issue on their end.
Yeah. Um, as far as fixing the Undertaker issues and bodies and supply wagons, there's no fix to it right now. We have tried a few things in the past. For example, I want all of you losing your minds because we implemented a possible fix for it, where we basically, I believe we shortened the render distance or something like that.
The range, yeah.
Yeah, and that drove everyone crazy, so we reverted it. It was a fix, but it broke other stuff. So it is something that we kind of jump back to try and troubleshoot with when we have new ideas on how we can fix these issues. But unfortunately, as you can expect, this is like Red M, 5M, they are heavily modded games. Like, I mean, I remember putting 1 or 2 mods on Minecraft and Minecraft basically crapping itself. Like, these are heavily modded games. There's going to be bugs, there's going to be issues. We can try and fix the majority of them, but unfortunately, that's not one where we have a fix up our sleeve for now on. Wish we did, but it is what it is. Business is opening back up for sale. We have just recently finished our audits on businesses, so they will be going up soon. I'd say probably within the next week here. So keep an eye out for that. Will we ever get a bait shop in Strawberry? No, Strawberry can burn.
Fuck. What?
Does Strawberry
Huh?
not have a bait
Whoa.
shop?
No, we
I swear
don't.
Strawberry has. Okay.
No, we don't.
Maybe we'll look into it. We'll consider it. As far as the meeting goes, we've now hit 9:29. I do want to say that it's been lovely speaking to you all. We have kind of gotten to the end of the meeting now. I did say we'd do about half an hour of questions, and that's kind of covered the majority of them. I know a couple have trickled through here. Maybe I'll choose one. I'll read them all and choose one more to answer. To wrap up, though, I do want to say thank you to everyone who's spent the last, what was it? What's it been like 2.5 hours sitting here and listening to
Yeah.
us drone on and quote lecture you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it at least and had some time to have a little bit of a laugh here and there with us. We look forward to the next one. If there's anything else anyone wants to say while I look at the last question that I'll answer, go for it. Or not. Um,
I like Skyrim.
I'll answer Atticus's question. Is there anything in the works with blacksmiths? They are such an important job in county, and there's so much turnover with them. Blacksmiths have kind of always had a little soft spot for me and Cooper, I think. We have kind of looked at the job itself and seen that there are some sort of like um annoying issues when it comes to like crafting and stuff like that. Numbers that don't add up, or like it's annoying to craft certain things as a blacksmith because you have to have X amount of stuff in your pocket, but you can't fit that amount in your pocket, kind of thing. So we have looked at and recognized some balancing issues, and maybe in the near or distant future we'll have a look into it. But again, we have so many things right now that we're looking to implement, and so many things on our plate. um it is recognized. Like, I do want to say that we have seen the issues with it. And hopefully we will look into it in the near future. But it's as if and when we have time, if I'm going to be completely honest. But I do want to say that it is something that we've noticed.
Yeah,
To wrap up, oh, go ahead, Cooper.
I was just going to say, I put a note in the community meeting, one of the chats, that ultimately, if it wasn't clear by now, we're giving a lot of heavy focus and attention to adding content to the server. This is going to be coupled with some balancing, whether, it affects the economy, but more so with like crafting and things of that nature, recipes, really across the board. So don't be surprised over the next few weeks or couple months, you see some things get updated, refreshed, maybe, jostled a little bit, whatever the case may be, because we're trying to add some content to it and really just kind of make things make more sense. So just keep an eye out. And yeah, that's all I can really say about it for now.
Yeah. To wrap up the meeting, obviously we've said our thank yous. I want to say a really big thank you to everyone who obviously participates in roleplay in the community, and especially those who take the time to stream our community. They haven't gone unnoticed, especially people like Bloody Blackwood, who's got like, we worked it out to, if Blackwood was paid minimum wage for every hour that he streamed, he'd be on a 40k salary, based off of his streaming numbers. And there are others too, like Morgan Hatfield, who are super dedicated. And if you don't watch them, I really suggest you take a look at our sidebar. There's Charlotte streaming right now, Lars, Morgan, Thomas, and I'm sure they're doing some super fun stuff. So make sure to support each other, and check them out. Short little plug there at the end of the meeting.
Can I just say something quickly?
Yes, there.
Shout out to the redneck. I don't know your full name, Unson County, but he
Oh,
tweets every
yes.
day.
Bearded redneck.
Shout out, great guy, great content, cute, very cute dog Jojo. Don't know if you're listening in, but keep up the great content. He's live every day, and yeah, just love promoting. Anyone that streams Sin Daily. I try to watch as much as I can. You guys are not ignored. Trust me.
Yeah. We do recognize you guys. We know the amount of time that you put into the server, and we really, really appreciate it.
Shout out to Melvin Spiel just because. So
Yeah, shout out Melvin
Melvin
Spiel.
Spiel.
Can't wait to watch you get
The
arrested again.
OG Triple G T XM.
just because he asked.
Hopefully we all don't like Melvin.
Per his
Yeah.
TikTok, he's trapped in a cave right now.
Ah. Well, we hope you get out.
Deserved.
That's everything for today, everyone. When we'll see you in December.
We're not gonna bring people